Okay, welcome to the inaugural broadcast, the inaugural podcast of The Falcon and the Dove. I am the Falcon.
And I am the Dove.
We are a mother and daughter team, and we are an affiliate of ArayASimmons.com. That's Array as in Obeah, Simmons as in Gene and Richard, but we're not related, we don't think. .com. AREYASIMMONS.com. We want you to know that because we're going to talk about some very important things today, some very fun things. In the next few weeks, we're going to have some guests on the show. It's going to be great. And we want your feedback. We want you to participate. This show is going to be built on the things you tell us that you need from us. That we need to tell you who you are first. And I am a baby boomer. And you...
I am an echo boomer.
That's right. So, we're going to be talking about a lot of things that affect baby boomers, like myself. Excellent music, excellent movies. We're going to have a slight leaning on the fantasy science fiction side, but not all the time. But that is some of our primary interests, and we are surrounded by friends and relatives who are kind of in the same genre. So we're going to cover a lot of that, but we're also going to talk about a lot of things echo boomers need. And right now, echo boomers need money for college, because a whole lot of kids seem to be going to college. Was there another mini baby boom that nobody told us about? Because everybody I know is getting ready to, either now or in the next few years, or already has kids in college. We're going to talk about sensible things that you can do to cut some of your college debt. I think everybody wants to know about that. So,
what are we going to be discussing in this episode?
In this episode, we're going to discuss, obviously, the Academy Awards were announced this week. So we're going to discuss a little bit about the Academy Awards, and we're going to talk about some of the films we think are really awesome that are nominated for Academy Awards and that we hope do very, very well. And the first thing we really need to talk about is the fact that Dreamgirls got 8 nominations. Very, very good. Yay. Yay. But not Best Picture. Kind of strange. You get 8 nominations, and your director doesn't get nominated for Best Director. And to be honest, that would be a tough category this year because there are a lot of great directors in there. And, you know, that leads you to asking the question of whether or not Martin Scorsese, who has been nominated 5 times and never gotten any, will actually get his Academy Award for The Departed. Don't know yet.
I think he might get it this year.
I hope so. He's in a tough category.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood, his 2 films are both nominated in Best Picture this year, and he's nominated for Best Director too, right?
He's nominated for Best Director.
They can't avoid him, so...
I think Letters from Iwo Jima is nominated, but not Flags of Our Fathers. But Flags of Our Fathers was nominated in the Golden Globes. Both of those films were nominated side by side.
Right. I thought there was another one in Best Picture.
There may be.
By Clint Eastwood. I think there's 2.
If that's the case, then Clint may have that category in Best Director.
He's got 2 bites at the apple there.
And of course, we do know that Alejandro Iñárritu
González and Iñárritu.
Yes, has the nomination in Babel.
By the end of this award season, they might actually pronounce his name right.
Exactly, and I'm just as guilty. And a handsome fellow who has done Babel, of course, with Cate Blanchett and with Brad Pitt. Kate got a nomination there for Best Supporting Actress, as did, and we can't ignore this one either, Little Children. What a great film. Going to be interesting to see if Kate Winslet gets the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. Best Actor, Will Smith.
Woo!
Yes! The Pursuit of Happiness. Love him. And I'm still stunned because I can't believe this film is getting this much award attention. The Last King of Scotland, and our old buddy
Forrest.
Yes,
Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker is finally getting some real attention.
I saw him on the Today Show, and he was beside himself.
Yes, he was.
As was Jennifer Hudson.
Jennifer Hudson in Dreamgirls.
She already won a Golden Globe, and so she's real happy about this.
She rocks. I'm really excited about the diversity of the number of individuals who are nominated this year.
Finally.
There are 19 Latin nominations. That's just incredible. We can't go by talking about Latin nominations without talking about our buddy Alfonso Cuarón, who is nominated for Children of Men.
Woo!
What a film. Will just leave you. If you haven't seen that movie, find that movie, find what theater, find what art house is carrying it.
See this film.
You must see that film.
This is a must-see.
He's nominated for 3 Academy Awards for Children of Men.
For Best Cinematography, Best Sound Editing, and what was the third one?
Sound Editing and Sound... I think there's 2 in sound and cinematography he's nominated for.
Sound editing and sound mixing. I'm not sure if it's nominated for sound mixing.
I think it's both of those and then cinematography, and I really hope that film gets it. And of course, back to back.
Was it nominated for soundtrack?
It
may have been soundtrack.
No, another film was nominated for soundtrack we're going to talk about today, which of course is nominated against Children of Men in sound editing, and that is Pan's Labyrinth.
With Alfonso's buddy Guillermo del Toro.
This film is a fantasy film for adults. And we want to emphasize the word adults.
It's rated R.
There's this adorable little girl in the ad, Ivana. She's
12 years old.
12 years old.
12 years old. Playing an 11-year-old.
Playing an 11-year-old, immensely talented young lady. This is a very well-cast film. The visual effects are stunning. The story, which is also nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, it just leaves you speechless. But this is not for children. Adults, this is, get the babysitter, and you go out and enjoy an adult fantasy film for a change. And this is not for the squeamish.
Now we saw it together.
Yeah,
and
we did.
And we both enjoyed it, but we're used to it. we're used to seeing hard-hitting films, and this one is a hard-hitting film along with subtitles.
Yes.
So don't have someone taller than you sitting in front of you.
Yes.
As I experienced it.
Yes, it's very important to see this film because it's so powerful. It is so dynamic. It's so powerful.
You forget the subtitles are even there in this film.
Exactly. It's really tremendously enjoyable, but it is not for the squeamish. So
not for the squeamish. There's a lot of blood.
It's graphic.
It's graphic.
It's graphic.
It's graphic. But it doesn't take away from the enjoyment.
No, not at all.
Makes you cringe a bit, but
yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But it's a good cringe. It's a cringe of honesty and
right. That means it's authentic.
It really is. It's tremendous.
Authentic. You wouldn't want a story like this that is watered down. This is set in 1944.
Yes, in Spain in 1944, kind of a fascist period for them, and shows some of the starkness of the reality of the political environment at the time, and also speaking of environment, don't want to miss this point, Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth is also nominated for an Academy Award, and if you haven't seen, for Best Documentary, if you haven't seen it, please see it, and I suggest, for those who haven't seen it, that you sit down and watch An Inconvenient Truth, which is not a very long film, it's under 90 minutes, back to back with The Day After Tomorrow, because if you watch both of those together, then you'll know exactly what to do personally to help defeat global warming, and then you can watch The Day After Tomorrow to understand what will happen if we don't get a clue.
Exactly. This was released in 2004, not taken very seriously at first, but it is now. The Day After Tomorrow and The Core, both underrated movies, but now they're getting some serious attention, so we're giving them some attention, and The Day After Tomorrow was surprisingly accurate in what could happen.
Hilary Swank was in The Core. Went on the next year, $1 Million Baby, and Aaron Eckhart, who was nominated for Golden Globe for Thank You for Smoking, which is a wonderful satire. It's extremely hysterical. I think it's nominated for an Academy Award as well. So there's a lot of good films out there.
In the documentary category, and you think?
Yeah, I don't remember, but I know it's up there. I know it's there somewhere.
The list open here.
And it's a really funny film. Very hysterical. The character has a certain moral flexibility that
but it's a mockumentary.
It's a mockumentary.
Yes.
It's very funny.
Yeah, definitely a mockumentary. And
Little Miss Sunshine. Who would have thunk Little Miss Sunshine would have done so?
And it's nominated for Best Picture.
Yes.
Little Miss Sunshine. And the little girl is a 10-year-old nominated for Best Actress.
Yes, she is.
Best Actress.
And which matches the age of Tatum O'Neal, who was nominated when she was the same age for Paper Moon. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens for her. Of course, everybody remembers Keisha Castle-Hughes.
Yep.
Not too long ago, another immensely talented young lady.
Who was 13.
Whale Rider, who was in this year's Nativity Story. There are just a lot of beautiful young women coming up. I'm so proud of Jennifer Hudson. I'm so proud of her. She's been working so hard for so long. This is really a boon for her. I'm just a little disappointed that Dreamgirls wasn't nominated for Best Picture, but I understand that, categories do get crowded. I'm glad it's nominated for 8.
Yep, and we are definitely very happy that the Spanish Mexican movies are getting a lot of attention.
Yes.
With Pan's Labyrinth and Children of Men, which is not a Mexican based movie, but made by a Mexican director. Mm-hmm. And it's good that they are finally getting some attention.
I love Alfonso Cuarón. He did, of course, Great Expectations and A Little Princess, and of course the third Harry Potter film, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which I thought, after seeing the first two, I thought, oh my gosh, Cuarón is just a genius. He should come back. Himself. Yeah, he should come back and do a couple more of those.
Come back and do number 6 or 7.
Yeah, or both.
We're hoping. Hey, Alfonso, if you're listening, come back. Do number 6 or 7. How about 6?
What did Guillermo say? He said, if you're going to kill any of those kids off in number 7, I'm your man.
Yes, that's what Guillermo said. He said openly and was hoping that J.K. Rowling was listening, saying that, hey, if you want to kill those kids, I'm your man. And that's Guillermo, who did Pan's Labyrinth, which is the story of Ophelia. She's the main character. Ophelia, her father died, and her stepfather is this fascist, sadistic man, this general.
That was nicely said, yes. Fascist and sadistic. Creepy, haunty, spooky, and forbidden. He was all of them. You'll love this guy, which brings up the point of young actors in films where there is a lot of graphic action and violence. Dakota Fanning is in a film called Hound Dog right now at Sundance. It's about to wrap up at the Sundance Film Festival, and she's only 12. And in her particular instance, she's actually playing a character who is raped, believe it or not, and there is some concern among a lot of groups as to whether or not this was an appropriate thing to do, and wanted to know how much was this young lady exposed to in the filming of that scene and how much was actually being shown. And it turns out not as much is being shown that I think people initially thought there were, but it brings up a question. When you have young actors who are in sensitive roles, how do you handle it? And are we okay with children being in roles where they may be exposed to violence on a level or graphic
Now, are we concerned about the actors themselves, the young actors themselves portraying adult, for lack of a better word, roles, or are we concerned about the children watching the film?
Now, there's the question. I think that is the $100,000 question, and I think that in my era, being a boomer, we certainly had Jodie Foster playing a prostitute and Taxi Driver. We had Brooke Shields in Pretty Baby. I think they grew up to be pretty balanced women, still very strong actors, still active.
I think Dakota Fanning has no problem with it.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, her family, of course, has to also go along with that,
and she's she's coming from Charlotte's Web, and before that she did War of the Worlds, and that was PG-13, and so she wants to do a variety of roles. It looks like she seems like she wants to expand her horizons. So. Good for her.
I would certainly like to see the film before I speak to the film. We have not seen it yet. Of course, it's at Sundance right now. It'll be probably distributed for the summer or maybe the early fall season of 2007, so we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think this one will be too bad.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. I'm a mom, too, of a daughter.
Do we have a rating yet?
We do not have a rating yet.
Okay.
We do not have a rating yet, so we're going to have to see. But I think that, we have to be more cognizant of if something is rated R. We actually need a more variety of ratings, because sometimes there's R that's just, we're shooting and blowing up everything. And sometimes there's R that is a little bit R with an asterisk.
With thematic material.
Thematic
themes.
Those of you who saw Sin City...
that had a
Robert
little
Rodriguez.
Both.
Yes.
That had a little of both. It had a lot of gore, and animated gore and all kinds of gore.
All kinds of gore.
And violence.
And if you know Frank Miller's material, then this was not a surprise to you. Those who didn't, we saw them kind of running out somewhere between minute 26 and 28. But anyway, I'm wondering if we don't need to maybe adjust the MPAA rating system a little bit. And here's why I bring that up.
Like R15?
Yeah, in other countries they have R15. The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King was R15 in some countries. I personally thought that I'm an old, hardcore Tolkien fan, so before anybody says, oh, you just saw the movies. No, I didn't. I read the books 35 years ago.
And she made me read the books before the first film ever came out.
And I can speak Elvish, Sindarin, Telerin, and Dwarvish fluently.
We know what we're talking about.
And I would have preferred to see, well, certainly Fellowship of the Ring, I think, was PG-13 material, and it pretty much stayed PG-13 material. But I certainly think there were things in The Two Towers and in Return of the King,
especially,
that, like following the books, that could have made a huge difference in the rating and might have knocked it into an R level. But I think would have definitely made the films even stronger than they were, because, you know, let's face it, The Two Towers kind of turned left, went off in the woods and broke an axle somewhere around minute 80 and really didn't come back to the books per se. And, you know, Return of the King,
fell off that cliff, the whole movie went off the cliff.
There you go. And you wonder,
we're gonna be honest,
you wonder, you know, could that have been heavier material? Do we need an R15? And Pan's Labyrinth, if we had an R15, maybe it would have been an R15, nobody under 15 to see the film, but it wouldn't have been R. Yeah. Or, I don't know. And I don't know where Hound Dog will fall into, considering the controversy that's now been brought up about that. But, you know, this becomes more important when you start talking about a series of films that are adaptations of books. Right. Aragon was PG, which was not good.
The fans hated that. They were very, very unhappy when the rating came out, thinking that there was going to be no battle scenes and nothing was going to be intense. Well, there were some battle scenes. Was it very intense? No.
And had, you know, Christopher Paolini, a wonderful homeschool boy. You're going to hear me talk highly about homeschoolers because I'm a homeschool parent. I homeschool my daughter, so you'll hear me talking highly about homeschoolers if I get a chance to. And Christopher Paolini, of course, sold this to 20th Century Fox, probably wishes at this point he might have kept a little bit more artistic control, because I think the consensus is it watered down too far. It should have been more along the PG-13 line. Maybe they thought if they included more material from the book in its original sense, it would have pushed it toward the R. But I'm asking, when you're doing adaptations, is this a bad thing or not?
For it to be watered down?
No, for it to be closer to PG-13 and maybe in the gray zone of R if we follow the material more closely. Does it have to be watered down? I think that Guillermo del Toro is proving a point here.
Yeah. It depends on a lot of things.
It depends on a lot of things.
It not only does it depend on what is in the film, but it also depends on how it's shot.
Exactly.
What is shot. If you have a bloody scene that's shot like Disney, for example, then it's not going to get a very high rating. But if it's shot darkly, if the tint is dark, and it depends on that too as well. And another thing is, if you include more things from the book, does that necessarily make the rating higher? Not really.
Not necessarily.
It depends on what you're leaving in. And right now, a lot of films are stretching the PG-13 rating.
Yes, they are. And I thought there's a scene, you know, for the fans of Full Metal Jacket, there's a scene in Children of Men that will, you know, take you back to Full Metal Jacket, and it is war correspondent cinematography. It is magnificent. There is a 9-minute segment where there is no editing. And you are watching a single camera follow the action of the actors without ever being detected. It is flawless. It is beautiful.
At one point, blood splatters onto the camera.
And it just keeps going.
And it just keeps going.
I love that. It just keeps
that
going.
That was great. And there was... And near the end, there was just one cut, and then it kept going, and then it kept going and going and going, and
And for those of you who are not war movie fans, I don't want to make you think Children of Men is all war. There are magnificently beautiful, tender, well-executed, well-acted moments in this film that just pull at your heartstrings. And I mean, there is a moment where every mother will just weep because it is so beautiful. And, obviously this is a film concerning about whether or not women will continue to reproduce or what happens when women can no longer reproduce. It's set in 2027, I think, and, this miraculous thing happens, and this woman, in the midst of a world that has given up hope, becomes pregnant. And the story really follows her and what happens to her, what happens around
even
her.
Though you don't meet her very early on, you meet the character of Theo, who is played by
Clive Owen.
You follow him at first and his struggles, and then he about 20 minutes or 30 minutes into the film, he meets Key, who's pregnant, and then it really becomes his and her story.
Yes, it really does. And
with a lot of other people around.
Yes. Michael Caine plays this aging hippie. He's great.
He's Theo's friend.
Yeah.
Jasper.
He's wonderful. But these are films that are not for young children, and I just want to emphasize that, because I think sometimes we're pushing it to. I saw an article a few weeks ago. Is 11 the old 14? Can we now introduce 11-year-olds to things that we used to introduce 14-year-olds to? I'm not a child psychologist. I'm just a mom.
Maybe.
I'm not so sure.
Maybe it depends. Again,
it depends.
It depends. It's the parents' responsibility to see whether their child is ready. Every child is different. Every child is different.
Exactly.
You can't fit all 11-year-olds and put them into a box. You can't fit all 16-year-olds and put them into a box. And
no.
Every child is different, and it's the responsibility of the parent.
Now, there are clearly some 16-year-olds who probably wouldn't make it through Pan's Labyrinth. There are some 16-year-olds who would go, hey, this is fine. I do believe that when you see films like these that are centered on youth and are centered on our young, but are clearly rated R, parents see the film first. If they're 16 or older, sure.
Do your research.
Or younger, I'm not so sure. But
do your
investigate
research.
it.
Do your research. If you don't want to spend money on it twice, read the reviews on the internet. Find out as much as you can about it and about the story before you take your kid to see it, especially if it's rated R.
Yeah, because they're not going to get in without you. So, at least not legally.
I know there's a lot of parents out there who don't even look at ratings and just go see whatever, and then they're unpleasantly surprised later. Well,
yeah. I remember that happening last year with a certain parent I know, and Brokeback Mountain didn't know what it was about.
No.
Took his son. Oh, my.
Oh, man.
So, thought it was a cowboy movie. Well, it was. So, look at the ratings, do some research. That's all we're saying. And it brings up another area of interest. We were talking about series of films, where you have installments of films.
Not sequels.
Not sequels. Not to be confused with sequels, like Biodome 2 and 3. We're talking about series, usually an adaptation. One of the things you wanted to talk about was the issue of the ratings change with Harry Potter films. Order of the Phoenix is coming out in July. Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
That was an interesting choice by Warner Brothers. Friday the 13th. And Harry is considerably older now, as is the rest of his comrades. And we're looking at this film and going,
15 years old.
Do we want...
A lot happens when you're 15.
I mean, I understand there are 8-year-olds out there who read this. But should those same 8-year-olds be seeing it, and that's what we're opening up to debate.
That is the question.
Yes, so that's why we want to hear from you at ArrayofSimmons.com.
We'll put some polls up on these issues, and please vote.
We don't know what the rating is yet. It's not rated yet.
Yeah, not rated yet, but the first 3 were PG, just as a recap. And number 4, Goblet of Fire, started with PG-13, which it needed, and frankly, we think that the third one, Prisoner of Azkaban by Alfonso Cuarón, could have been PG-13 easily. It just got under the line. If you want to know where the line is,
there it is.
Between
it was
PG
right there.
and PG-13, that's the line. Dementors sucking people's souls out.
Yeah, the whole scene with the boy and his wand. That is, for those of you who saw Y Tu Mamá También, okay, you understand Alfonso Cuarón. It was right on the line. It was towing the line. It was gripping the line for all it was worth.
All the innuendo.
There is PG-13.
It was the first
right
scene.
there.
The first scene, letting you know, this is not just for kids anymore.
Very humorous and an entendre way to adults.
But
the kids are going, what?
Right.
What?
Right. What? Yeah, but the adults get it. So,
the adults got
that
it.
was a nice touch, Alfonso. So back to Order of the Phoenix. We think it's going to get PG-13.
At least. I think in some countries, if they follow the text, it may get a little bit tweaky.
Yeah, a little tweaky. Just the fact that they are compressing 870 pages into a single film, that brings in the issue of what to cut out, what to leave in. But if you want to leave it all in, then your rating is going to go up. Kind of in a way. If this had been 2 films, which I think it should have been.
Yeah.
If this were 2 films, then the ratings the material would have been split, and you probably have 2 PG-13 movies. If this were done page by page, exactly like the book, I think it would most definitely get an R. But I don't think that's going to happen. Considering this is going to be at least 2.5 hours.
We hope 3.
We hope 3 hours. David Yates has said that he has shot a 3-hour movie, but he says he's going to cut some. We don't know how much, but we hope it stays at 3 hours, because Lord of the Rings stayed at 3 hours. Why not? Why should this not? And
well, you don't want to lose continuity.
You don't want to lose continuity.
Whether you've read books or not read books, when you're going to see a film, you want it to make sense when people watch it.
Yeah, right. If you haven't read Order of the Phoenix, everything, there's a million subplots. Everything is connected. If they remove one thing, they got to replace it with something else. Because if you take one thing out, then there's this hole, and there's this hole, and you do not want plot holes, especially in adaptations where you have millions of screaming fans.
That's true. Screaming, rabid, yes.
With this, but what material could be in Phoenix that constitutes an R?
Well, I don't think we can talk about some of that because we don't want to give away.
We don't want to give away anything.
But simply to say that it could be on the line, and these are things that you can write us about and talk about, and we're discussing whether or not we're going to put up a message board, and you tell us whether or not we need a message board. But there is something that definitely needs to be discussed, and then the whole subject of what is children's material, what is adult material that may have children in it but is not necessarily appropriate for young children to see, and how do we break that up, and do we need, once upon a time we only had PG and R, and then there was Ralph Bakshi's animated Lord of the Rings, and there was Indiana Jones
but they
films.
didn't have PG-13 back then.
But after that we did.
Yeah.
The rating board said, I don't know, we need to do something about these guys who were having their hearts ripped out and set on fire is not appropriate for a PG film, which was in an Indiana Jones sequel in the Temple of Doom. So the MPAA board said, maybe we need a PG-13. And I'm wondering now, I would hate to see the quality of film sacrificed.
Right.
Because
just for the sake of watering it down.
To fit in a ratings box.
To fit in a ratings box, yeah. So there needs to be a balance. And the way that the Goblet of Fire was shot and then coming into Order of the Phoenix, if it keeps going at this rate, all that's going to be left is a black screen and a soundtrack. Nothing but a black screen.
Imagine what might happen.
By the time we get to movie 7, it's going to be so dark. We're just going to have a black black screen and a soundtrack.
Well, what's the seventh one called? The Deathly Hallows?
The Deathly Hallows.
That gives you a picture now, doesn't
Book
it?
7 is...
Okay.
We got all 7 titles now.
Yes, got all 7 titles.
Deathly Hallows. Now, there are millions of discussions on what that may mean, but we're not going to discuss it here.
We're not going to go there here. We're just simply going to
say...
We'll
leave that to your imagination.
What do you think, and do you still think that this is appropriate material for an 8-year-old to see as a film? Maybe not so much. So you let us know. And what else do we have on the agenda today?
It's the parents' responsibility.
Yeah, it is the parents' responsibility.
Next one. Next we have here is Laura Mallory.
Laura
Mallory.
And for those of you who actually don't know who Laura Mallory is, you are truly blessed. But anyway,
you are truly blessed.
She received the dubious award in the Washington Post of being
Idiot of the Year of 2006.
What a title!
Idiot of the Year. Wow.
Now, that would discourage me from any further venturing into what might have categorically gotten me certified as idiot, but not Ms. Mallory.
Miss Mallory is Mrs. Mallory is from Gwinnett County, Georgia, and she's been trying for since August 2005 to get the Harry Potter books banned from all Gwinnett County school libraries. And she's been overruled about 3 times now. She just got her appeal overruled at the Georgia Board of Education, and they ruled without discussion, which tells you something.
So the translation is, this woman has lost every single time. No, we're not going to take Harry Potter to the schools. Kids are reading. We're going to keep the book in the schools.
Yeah, she says that,
Leave us alone.
She says that it indoctrinates children into witchcraft, for those who want to know what all the fuss is about.
Wow.
Indoctrinates children into witchcraft.
You know, I just haven't seen a whole lot of kids who were into Harry Potter, now maybe it's just me, walking around with a copy of the Necronomicon under one arm, wearing an upside-down pentagram and doing all sorts of weird... I just haven't seen it. I don't see the correlation as a parent. Maybe
spells
it's just
don't really work, Laura.
You know, in my day, we had banned books. Of course we did.
Of course we do. And Harry Potter is one of the most challenged.
Catcher in the Rye.
Catcher in the Rye.
Lord of the Flies. Uncle Tom's Cabin, and everybody had their reasons for wanting to ban books. And one of the things that actually kind of put a needle in between the debate and kind of set forth a line of which side are we swinging on was Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. Which really pointed out...
Who commented on the issue, actually.
Yes.
Ray Bradbury commented on the issue. I'm paraphrasing. Maybe he basically said that the Harry Potter books do not promote witchcraft; they promote being wise. So there you have it.
There we
Ray
are.
Bradbury.
There we are.
We are against most censorship here.
Well, where books are concerned, I think
for books, yeah,
there are age appropriateness in books.
Yes,
but I always get worried when someone takes a stand that doesn't seem to have a lot of lucid support to ban other individuals' access.
From reading the books.
Laura, dear, if you don't want your kids reading Harry Potter, you know what? That is perfectly fine, because there are books I didn't want my daughter to read, certainly not at a given age, and, every parent has the right to be a parent.
But you don't have the right to try to tell everybody else what they can and cannot read.
Not in a free country.
No.
Not in a free country.
I mean, she's doing it.
So...
She's appealing the Georgia Board of Education's decision, again, to the Supreme Court, and she almost gave up this time, mind you. But so-called supporters gave her significant donations and convinced her to go to the Supreme Court. Supporters.
Voices in her head. I don't know. But... I would think, I wonder at times why she's actually doing this, and I'm sure it actually has nothing to do with what she's actually saying, and Dr. Phil might be able to help her out with this. I can't. I just simply say there have always been books that were questioned in every generation, and that, for my part, as a young person and a tween, just made me immediately go out and read it more.
Yes, exactly. She's promoting the books by doing this, and I have the article now, and Says a mother who has been crusading since August 2005 to remove the Potter books from Gwinnett County school libraries is set to appeal the county superior court to the Superior Court the decision Georgia State made in December to keep the books on the shelves. And now she says, and I quote, "We will take a stand for truth and pray God will touch the hearts of this generation."
Well, I already think that this generation's hearts have been touched very deeply, because while Laura's busy worrying about a fictitious little boy and a fictitious land and a rather popular series of books, other young people are actually campaigning to save other young people in Darfur and Sierra Leone.
But we need people like her doing other things.
And building homes in
for the poor.
Yes, for the poor, right here in the United States.
Let's stop the genocide in Darfur.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Let's clothe our elderly and make sure they have enough heating oil and food for the winter. Let's make sure our neighbors are safe. Let's reduce crime. Let's reduce drug addiction. Let's do something.
But no, she's worried about kids getting indoctrinated into witchcraft. Meanwhile, she hasn't actually read the books. She's read some excerpts. She hasn't even read the cliff notes.
Because then that takes all the fun out of it.
And she keeps doing this over and over and over, and now she's going to have the opportunity to get an expert witness, quote unquote expert witness. She's supposedly contacted an expert witness on this, and according to Emerson Spartz of MuggleNet.com,
another homeschooler.
Yes,
hi Emerson.
He's at Notre Dame right now.
Yes, he is.
His comment is, "Ever seen a fly crash itself repeatedly into a transparent pane of glass, never quite getting the hint?" Yeah. Yeah.
It feels so good when it stops. And, I'm going to give her the absolute best gift that I possibly could give Laura Mallory. I'm never going to mention her again, because my sincerest hope is that she gets a hobby that is proactive rather than reactive.
Her 15 minutes of fame are over.
Over
on our show, anyway. We know there'll be tons more articles written about her appealing to the Supreme Court, but let's move off of her.
And on to
tremendously
more important things.
The next subject I have here is too many adverbs in Order of the Phoenix.
Oh gosh, there we go. In the same category.
There we go. Now Laura Mallory's one thing, but this is just stupid.
But of course, in order to determine adverb usage, now all you kids out there who are interested in learning English composition properly, pay attention, because this is important. What actually is an adverb? Dove, take it away.
I'm waiting for the article to load here.
Yes.
What? Okay, here we go. Here's this article. This is in the opinion section of blog critics. It's called Harry Potter and the Evil Adverbs.
Again, another tremendously important.
Okay, this is a
thing.
All right, MJ Ryan. She's a mother. She wrote this December 27th. She says, the release of the title of the 7th and final installment to the Harry Potter series, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, must have been depressing to many people. First, there are the fanatics who are desolate to see their beloved series coming to an end, a few of whom have begun lighting candles for our favorite boy wizard. The word deathly doesn't bode well for Harry's longevity. Next, there are the non-fans who are gearing up for the inevitable onslaught of Harry Potter mania. With the release of the Order of the Phoenix movie in July and the book sometime next year, I'm guessing Halloween 2007 based on the book's 7's title. Don't listen to that. We don't know when it's being released. The world will be treated to all Harry all the time, whether we like it or not. Of course, the glasses half full non-fans will see this announcement as a beacon of hope, a light at the end of the let's market Harry Potter to death tunnel. Then there are those for whom the word deathly was cringe-inducing for a different reason. The readers who thought Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince was in dire need of a strong editing hand. Deathly is an adverb in the title of the book. How lazy can you get? You may think it's rather rich to accuse a woman who hasn't a qualm about publishing an 870-page children's book of being lazy. Whether it is a children's book or not is a debate for another day. But everything I've ever read or been taught is that to use adverbs in writing is lazy. There is always a better way to say it without using the pesky little buggers. Since her books are peppered with adverbs, it appears that Rowling never read On Writing by Stephen King at the very least, or that her editors never bothered to mention how adverbs are the spawn of all evil.
Wow, the spawn of all evil.
Not witchcraft.
See, there we go.
Opening Order of the Phoenix to a random page, I counted 6, excluding adverbs in dialogue. Let's say she averages 5 per page at 870 pages long. That's 4,300 adverbs in Order of the Phoenix alone. Dear me, that's 10 pages of adverbs. What's the big deal, you ask? In the larger scheme of things, does it matter if Rowling uses an adverb to describe every line of dialogue? She doesn't. That's only a slight exaggeration, by the way. That was her, not me. Of course not. The better question is, would her story be lacking if she deleted the adverbs? No, it wouldn't. I don't agree with this. Rowling does a wonderful job of setting the mood, of building tension in a conversation, of painting a picture. She doesn't need the adverbs. She doesn't need to tell us that Aunt Petunia said something snidely to Harry, or that Mrs. Weasley said something anxiously as she was looking for others on a busy train platform. We know enough about the character she's created and the scenes that she set that we get it. In fact, if you think about it, using adverbs is rather insulting. It's as if Rowling doesn't think her readers are bright enough to catch the subtlety she's written. You're also not giving yourself enough credit, Miss Rowling. You don't need those nasty adverbs. See compliments above. Ms. Rowling, I have a challenge for you while you're still in the editing stage of Book 7. Take a highlighter and mark those adverbs up. Get rid of them. Release yourself and your readers from adverb hell. That cramp you get from excessive highlighting will go away in a day or so, I promise. Oh, sure, you can keep a few here and there. Let's say 2 per chapter. 2 per chapter, as long as they aren't used to describe dialogue. Yeah, there are a plethora of other ways to describe speech than to saddle it with adverbs. But before you do anything at all, get that adverb out of the title. I even have a suggestion. Harry Potter and the Hallows of Death. Look at that. No adverb and the meaning is the same. It has quite a ring to it, if I do say so myself, but better yet, I feel the doom. Now, about that word death.
Okay, now, everybody who actually understands the parts of English, all together now, deathly is not an adverb.
Not in this title.
Deathly is an adjective describing the noun.
Yeah,
which brings us up to... Come on. This is what I mean. And I'm going to do her a favor, too. I feel like that line in Ghostbusters, I'm going to get her a nice fruit basket. Yeah. I just feel that if you're going to go on in a diatribe like that, you should at least know what you're talking about before you take off.
Exactly. Now there were a lot of comments on this, mostly slamming her to death here. I left a comment here, so I don't remember what I said, but I'll read it right here because this basically showed my opinion of her article.
Yes, your reply.
My reply. This is December 27th, the same day. I said, I agree with most of the comments made above. Megan, you said what I was going to say, so I won't repeat it. This is the first article I have read attacking JKR for an excessive use of adjectives, adverbs. The adverbs are highly descriptive and add to the quality of writing. JKR is not insulting people by using a lot of adverbs and adjectives. She is accommodating the people who have not been following her books from the very beginning. Not every reader of these books knows the characters well enough to know exactly how they would say any line of dialogue. I personally have found the adverbs very helpful, even though I am a pretty seasoned fan. Just because a certain character has a certain personality does not mean that they are going to say all of their lines the exact same way every time. The adverbs allow the reader to really think about what the character has just said and, more importantly, how the character said it. That's what adverbs are for.
Duh!
No matter what any highbrowed writing expert might say, adverbs add subtext and meaning behind the words on the page while still keeping the story interesting. They are not in any way distracting from the tale. I have read the reviews that Or the Phoenix received, and the worst legitimate review I read said that the book contained an excessive use of adjectives. If that is all that critics can complain about, I applaud JKR even more. Because of adverbs, the reader knows the motives of each of the characters. In my opinion, J.K. Rowling has done so much for literature, not just children's literature, that if she wants to use an adverb in the title of the last book of her wildly popular series, she can go right ahead, and I won't think anything less of her. There's my 2 cents.
Very well said, Dove. Very well said.
Thank you.
Which brings up a point. Children's literature. As far as I know, this is still classified as children's literature. And don't children perhaps need supporting adverb usage in order to understand and visualize what in fact the characters are doing? Doesn't that add another dimension
to their imagination? It adds a whole other level.
So characters aren't as two-dimensional, but they're better developed.
It expands children's imaginations. I think the more adverbs, the better in children's literature, especially.
I bet she'd be much happier if they just went off and played, I don't know, Grand Theft Auto on the videos for 16 hours. What is all this reading for anyway? Why don't you kids just
Why don't you read it at 870-page book?
Television. Come on. I mean, really.
An 830-page book. Go back to playing your video games, please.
Yes. Stop reading these long books.
Don't expand your vocabulary.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What are we thinking here? I mean, really. So, again, it all comes back to parents and kids talking to each other. And parents, I don't want you to behave snidely. I want you to be serious with your kids and say, now, are you reading books with too many adjectives or adverbs? And when your kid looks at you like you've landed from Mars, simply say, oh, I was just wondering. And now, on to the weather. So, on to much more important items. We are going to talk about the fact that, you know what? We are going through, are you going through, are your kids going through, are your cousins and relatives going through the college admission and financial aid process? Is this not the most evil? Where do you feel, parents? Somewhere between the 3rd and 4th circle of hell? I know you're feeling. And you know what? There are ways to make this process easier. Kids, are you a senior right now in high school and you're going, I don't know where I want to go and I don't know what I want to do? Okay, that's fine. But you know what? If you're planning on going to college and you haven't gotten your applications in yet, because a lot of places, well, you know, the deadline's passed, apply somewhere, okay? Apply somewhere. Get a bunch of brochures from colleges in your near tri-state area, and there's a lot of schools who have rolling admission. It is not too late. Do not despair. And we know why you got a D in geometry in 9th grade was because you were sitting there staring at that very cute girl in your class. They will understand. It has not blown your entire college career.
No.
And for those of you who are taking the SAT for the 15th time, trying to get that perfect score, and really anxious about it, I have some advice. As a parent, but also as a casual observer. Stop it! You're brilliant. You've already done well enough on the stupid test. You don't need to take it 15 times, okay? This is a test you take on one day and one session, and it has all this impact. I don't understand that. I think that it should be less impactful than, say, all of the time you spent over the previous 4 years of your education where you're in class. Your GPA is very, very important. Your SAT and ACT, maybe not so much. At least it shouldn't be. Some colleges are wiping it out altogether. Yes, those of you who would rather focus on maybe your more artistic side or your more social side, social-political side, maybe you want to look for a school that's dropped them all together. No SATs or ACTs. They're out there. That is what Google and search engines are for. Get out there and find your match and find your passion. Do what you want to do. Don't do what necessarily your parents said they wanted you to do, unless, of course, you want to go out and do something insane that's completely unemployable. Try not to do that. Try to come to a happy medium, but find your passion and get out there and make those applications count, because this is a time of your life where you can embark upon the venture of discovery yourself. High school is fun, but it can also be, well, awful. And college is really where you can do a lot of self-discovery. Oh, yes.
So much better.
It's so much better. You're going to meet other people you can engage with. You're going to meet people who are just as crazy and eccentric and slightly psychotic as you are. It'll be fun. You'll enjoy yourself. And don't stay home. Get out there and enjoy yourself. Don't commute.
Expand your horizons.
And I know you're going to say, I can't afford it. Well, you know what? That's a lie, too. They do this. They do that to try to keep you down.
Fastweb.com.
Fastweb.com. Now, we aren't receiving any money from them, although we would like to sometime in the distant future. www.fastweb.com.
I am on it. I've been on it since I was a sophomore. I've already gotten scholarships through them. They are a scholarship aggregator. No, we are not being paid by them or anything. We are just giving free advice, because that is what this podcast is for.
Free advice. We told you every week you listen to this podcast, we hope to give you information you haven't gotten anywhere else. I'm going to tell you right now, every kid 8th grade and older, fastweb.com. Parents, get your kid, sit down with them for 40 minutes and do that application, because then you're going to have all these scholarship opportunities coming in to their own email box in a timely manner. You can set them up so that you can go to them at the appropriate time for application. Mm-hmm. You can put them in order. There are tips on there about doing college applications, doing interviews, and the like. But it is important to think about your future.
And there's a lot of them. When I first registered on this, I had 123 scholarships that I was eligible for. That is what that registration form is for, to narrow down your interests and what you want, exactly what you want in a school, so it can narrow down which scholarships you are actually eligible for. So it's not just a load of scholarships on this list that you're not going to be able to apply to. You will. So fastweb.com. It is so worth the investment.
It's so worth the investment. And we said we were going to give out the information on a key scholarship whose deadline is approaching. Do we have a key scholarship? I believe it was the Discover Card Tribute Award Scholarship.
Yes, that is due very soon. It's due in January 31st.
Okay,
actually.
January 31st. Now, you'd have to dance on your toes, but so what else is new?
That one's coming very close.
It's for juniors only.
Juniors only. And you have to write three essays, about 2 pages total, on your leadership experience, your obstacles overcome, and there was one more section. I think it was your goals or interests, and there are 300 $2,500 scholarships available.
300
of them.
300.
And if they like it nice enough, you can qualify for the $25,000 one, and there are 10 of those. I, for one, during my junior year, I got the $2,500 one. It's still money.
There we go.
It's still
We're
money.
talking about for books, for computers, for a school.
And that was the first one I
room
applied
and board.
to. That was the first one I applied to. Don't think that going into these scholarships that, I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to get this scholarship, they're not going to pick me. Get those thoughts out of your head. Just apply to them. Just do it. If you love writing, then you'll love doing these. If you don't like writing, get writing.
Exactly.
Get writing, because it's really not that hard, and these organizations are looking for talented people like you.
Exactly. Do not let this slide by. The more scholarship money you earn now means less loan debt you and your parents have to absorb later. This is the key. And don't stay in state because you think that the state incentives are all there are and you can't go out of state because then you won't have those incentives. Let me tell you something. You need to go to a school that has your passion. And if that school is in Guam, you need to figure out a way for you to get there. And there are all sorts of creative programs that universities have across the country and around the world to get you where you need to be. Do not assume that you can't afford to make your dream of an education happen and come true. It can come true. But the first thing you need to do is go to fastweb.com, get registered on the aggregator so that you can get some scholarships in your box and you can apply for them. If you're a senior right now...
Free. And it's free.
It's free. You know I'm not going to tell you anything that's going to cost you something. Free. Free. So, go for it. If you're a senior right now... You know it's getting close. Get on there.
You do not want debt after college.
There are plenty of scholarships there.
Because that will build up, and then you'll be worrying about nothing else but the debt, where you should be really worrying about your job or other things. But that is after college, and you do not want debt after college. And the scholarships are the easiest way to prevent debt.
This is absolutely true. Now, I am a baby boomer, and I am a rare bird, I think, among not only baby boomers, but among Americans. I did not have a loan in college. I didn't.
And we don't think FastWeb existed.
No, it didn't. And my parents were both working, and there was only one of me, and they said, well, you make too much money. And so I didn't get any loans. But... I'm glad for that now because I didn't have that debt like hunting me down. Right. And I did work 3 jobs, which was insane. And I would also not advise having 3 jobs. 1 job and work study, maybe a little job during your breaks. Otherwise you can't focus on your studies when you have 3 jobs. I was just so exhausted when I graduated.
Fastweb.com. Now, there's one more big topic here, but we're going to talk about this briefly. There's this lecture that is going to happen very soon, January 29th, 2007 at 6:30 p.m. at Broken Arrow Senior High School, and this person is Amy H. Sturgis, and she is a
That's in
Tolkien
Oklahoma,
scholar.
Right?
Yes, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, that's what I thought.
Oklahoma, just outside Tulsa. Okay. Now, this woman, Amy H. Sturgis, is a Tolkien scholar. And this is a free lecture. It's open to the public. And at this school, they have a series going on called the Evening with the Author series. And this presentation that she's going to be giving is called Harry Potter is a Hobbit, the Tolkien Solution to the Rowling Problem. And the description of this says... J.K. Rowling draws fire from cultural critics and laypersons alike. Her works rank among the most challenged books of the last decade due to their supposedly mature content, and yet highly visible reviewers consistently poke fun at their allegedly juvenile nature. A question emerges from these disparate but repeated lines of attack. If children cannot handle dark and serious issues such as death, and adults should not enjoy such childish and light pleasures as fantasy stories, who, if anyone, is the proper audience for the Harry Potter series? According to J.R.R. Tolkien, the solution to this dilemma lies not in discovering a new category of readers, but rather in dismissing the false assumptions about childhood, adulthood, and the nature of fantasy that inform the question. Join Dr. Amy H. Sturgis as she uses Tolkien's insights to propose a solution to Rowling's problem of readership and a lasting answer to her critics. Very good. So if you live in Oklahoma, check it out.
And, here's the thing. It gets us back to the beginning of our discussion today with Guillermo del Toro, who wrote himself Pan's Labyrinth, as well as directed this magnificent film. And this is fantasy for adults, guys. Fantasy for adults, guys and gals. And I'm a hardcore Tolkien fan, so I love J.R. Tolkien, and I wept the day that he died. And he was a man who allowed children and adults to be children and adults and to explore. And he said, if anyone needs fantasy, adults need fantasy. Because the adult world can be a very hard place. And this is a man who in his youth years went to World War I very, very, very young, had huge casualties amongst his platoon, and he and Clive Staples Lewis, C.S. Lewis, were friends and became friends over that period, and survived. and remained friends throughout their lives. And obviously, C.S. Lewis went on to write the Chronicles of Narnia. Tolkien, who originally wrote the Silmarillion, which included a compression of what is in The Lord of the Rings and the Story of the Third Age and the War of the Ring inside the Silmarillion in 1919. It wasn't published until after his death in 1977, and but contains the story that eventually became the 700,000 word The Lord of the Rings in 1951. He finished it. It started in 1939, was published in 1954 through 56. And, he was a man who really felt that adults needed fantasy. He had seen some harsh times. He had seen the battles of war, and he understood what the casualties of war truly were, and how harsh the adult world can be. So, and he was also the father of 4 children.
So I think this is a great tool that Miss Sturgis is using.
I think it's great. I think it's wonderful.
She's using Tolkien to understand other issues, and Tolkien is a great tool.
Yes, and I think that it brings the conversation full circle. Mm-hmm. We're just going to leave you with a couple funny lighter note things we'd like to hear from you about in our surveys that are going to be on the website, and they are... Number 1, do you think $2 for a bottle of beer for your dog is too high? Yes, you heard me right. Doggy Brew, non-alcoholic. It's beef and malt flavored. But $2 a bottle for doggy beer. Just let me know what you think about that. And the other is, and this could take on a more serious connotation depending on how you look at it.
Zodiac.
I want to know, this is one of the famous pickup lines from my generation. Hey, baby, what's your sign? This becomes an important point when talking about how you drive. Yes, how you drive. Supposedly, some signs drive better than others. Now, I don't know. From what I read, it doesn't match the friends that I know and their driving habits.
There was a study conducted with a bunch of different zodiac signs, and according to them, Aries and Libras are the worst drivers, and Capricorns and Leos are the best. Now this is just a study, but it's interesting.
Now, I'm not any of those signs, but Dove here is an Aries, and
I am an Aries.
It's taking exception.
I'm taking exception to this study because I have not officially driven a car yet, but I have driven golf carts many times, and I think I am a very good driver. I have never so much as hit a curb.
Exactly.
with this, and a lot of people say I'm not like my zodiac sign anyway, so that could be why.
That could be why. But would you like your insurance premiums determined by your zodiac sign?
Oh.
And let us know how you feel about that. I mean, it's pretty important.
Yeah.
We also have something that is going to be on audio and video, which is an interview with a tremendously talented artist. His name is Jay Allen. And he has magnificent work. He is on Bakari.com.
Bakari.
Yes.
Bakari.
BAKARI.com.
Yes. Bakari.
And
Bakari Editions, maybe.
Well, it's just, I think it's,
Editions. His work is published in their catalog, Bakari Editions, and you will see some pictures of his work on the website in the next day or so.
Yes, and he is a tremendously gifted artist. Please take a look at his work.
His drawings look like photographs. They are so sharp.
So sharp, so beautiful, and so passionate. They are just gorgeous. And for those of you who are going to head off to the Pan's Labyrinth website to find out what in the world is all this chatter about, on Picture House, there is a contest for adults. You have to be 18 or older to post some of your own drawings and sketchings and musings. And they will put them into, you can upload them into a notebook on the website, right along with Guillermo del Toro's drawings that you can take a look at and listen to some clips of what his inspirations were for his artwork. And you can leave comments for some of the other artwork that you've seen. So, check that out. Check that out online. Google Pan's Labyrinth, and go to the website. And
beautiful website.
Beautiful website. I believe your postings have to be up by February 23rd. It is a contest, and you can read all the official rules on the site. But I think it's a wonderful opportunity for people to share,
to get their artwork
It's for
seen.
adults. It's for adults to share their artwork.
To get their artwork seen.
Yes, and Jay Allen is tremendous, and his artwork will be on ArrayofSimmons.com, so we'd like you to take a peek at it and let us and Mr. Allen know what you think of it.
And we will finish this episode with a quote of the week, and I think that this quote is very fitting. It is very fitting for this episode, and it's by J.K. Rowling, and it really brings all our conversations this week full circle. And the quote is, "The child that has been protected from dementors in fiction, I would argue, is much more likely to fall prey to them later in life in reality."
Touché.
And I would agree.
Mm-hmm. So, on that note, a very sobering note, we'd like to know what you think of The Falcon and the Dove. And let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about in the next few weeks, things that you think are very important. We are going to have some special guests on the show in the next few weeks. Very exciting guests. We're going to have a ball. Mm-hmm. And the point is to have fun with this and to also, share some things. Every day, I want to learn something new. And I think that it's a life goal. My grandmother lived to be over 100, and every day she said she wanted to learn something new, and every day she learned something. So I think that that's sage advice. Try to learn something new every day. So every week when we come to you, we're hoping that we're going to share something with you, either humorous or profound or silly, that you didn't know before that hour. So we hope that we do that, and we hope that you enjoy the show. So signing off, I am the Falcon.
And I am the Dove. Thanks for listening. We hope you stay with us, and it should be really fun.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Bless
Peace
you.
Out.
Have a safe week.